If you're not validating data early in your application and using domain objects to enforce validation throughout the rest of your application, then you might be at risk of simply not having valid data, over-executing validation logic, and/or blurring the responsibility of who should validate data. So overall, we should be validating data early in our application, such as at the UI layer of a front-end application, or at the controller layer of a back-end application. And then with our data already validated, we can leverage a domain object, which implicitly enforces validation by ensuring that all the data within the domain object is already valid and stays valid. So this concept could really be applied to any application that takes in data, but let's see this in a front-end WPF application, and we'll use the mighty Fluent Validation package to fluently express and enforce our validation logic. So this WPF application contains just a simple form that allows the user to enter and update their address. So the first piece of the puzzle is that we want to validate our data early in our application. So let's do that at the UI layer via our view model. So our view binds to our view model, which means our view model contains all the data that the user entered into the form. Let's perform validation on this view model data. So I already have Fluent Validation installed in this project. So let's create a Fluent Validation abstract validator for our view model. And we'll simply call this the address validator. So again, going to be using Fluent Validation here to perform our validation. So this address validator will extend abstract validator from Fluent Validation, and this validator is for our view model. So let's define that as the type for our validator. And the way Fluent Validation works is we define all of our validation rules within the constructor. So we can use this helpful rule_for method, which gets us into the chain of fluently validating. So we want a rule for our address line 1 to be required, so not empty, and have a maximum length of 25 characters. Address line 2 is not going to be required, but is going to have the maximum length of 25. Our city field is going to be required with maximum length 25 again. Our state going to be required, and this time have a length of 2 characters, so just going to be the state code, not the full length name of the state. And lastly, for our zip code, this is going to be required and is going to have a length of 5 characters and is also going to be all numeric digits, so no alpha characters in there. So a lot of validation rules here actually, but that's the nice thing about Fluent Validation is it's pretty clear and easy to write out and understand. So now that we have our validator, let's use it to validate our view model. So let's define our new address validator in our view model, so add a field for that. And then let's create a method so that we can validate each of our properties as they change. So we'll add that method, and it's going to take in the name of the property that changed and we want to validate. And before we run validation, let's clear validation errors from previous times that we validated the property. And with those errors cleared, we can take our validator and validate this view model. And we only want Fluent Validation to validate the property that's changed. So we can pass in some options to this validate call and specify that we only want to include the property that we specified to validate. So with our validation result, if there's any errors on that validation result, then we're just going to grab the first error message from the validation errors, and we'll add that error message to our property name. So if you're wondering what clear errors or add error are, these are just helper methods that I have defined that help us interact with the iNotifiedDataErrorInfo interface requirements. And if you're wondering what iNotifiedDataErrorInfo is, it's an interface that WPF hooks into so that we can display error messages for a certain property on our UI. So I have this hidden inside of a region because I'm not going to be going in depth about iNotifiedDataErrorInfo here, but I do have another tutorial dedicated to iNotifiedDataErrorInfo if you're interested in learning more about it. But for now, just going to be relying on these helper methods. So now that we have our validate property utility, let's use it to validate our address properties as they change. So when the user enters a new value for address line 1, let's revalidate that address line 1 property. Same thing for address line 2, the city property, the state property, and finally the zip code property. So this handles validation when our properties change, but we should also revalidate our address inputs when we submit the form and execute the command to update our address. So let's add a helper method to our view model that will validate the entire form and all of the address properties on the view model. So before executing our validation, let's clear previous validation errors and start from a clean slate. And then we'll take our validator and validate our view model instance. This time, not specifying the properties that we want to validate. We want to validate the entire view model. We also still want to display only one error message per property. So let's take our validation result errors and let's get the distinct errors by property name. So this will ensure that we don't get more than one error per property. And finally, we can loop through all those errors and add the appropriate error message to the invalid property. So next up, let's execute this full form validation when we submit the form. So in our update address command, which handles the form submit, let's take our view model and validate it. So this will run the full form validation. And if the view model has any errors, then we're simply going to return early from our submit and not actually update the address. And has errors, again, is just a piece of iNotify data error info, which tells us if any properties have any validation errors. So if we run this application and test it out, we'll see that our full form validation executes when we go to submit the form. So with nothing entered, we'll see all of our error messages appear. And as we change these properties, the error messages will update. And once we have fully valid data, we can submit the form successfully. So this handles our first validation step, validating data early in our application. Next up, let's use the domain object to ensure and enforce the data stays valid as it moves throughout our application. So we already have an address domain object that we create and pass around after we validate the data on our UI, but currently this address domain object doesn't enforce any validation. So to enforce validation on this domain object, we shouldn't even be able to instantiate it if the data passed to it initially is invalid. So to do that, we're going to perform validation in the constructor of our address, and if the address data is invalid, we'll throw an exception so that the domain object can't even be instantiated. And if it can't be instantiated unless it's valid, this will ensure that any address domain object passed around our application is guaranteed to be valid. So in our address domain object, let's get our address validator defined in here, and in the constructor of this address, after we set all of the properties, let's validate the address. So we'll take our validator and validate this address instance. And the cool feature of Fluent Validation, we can tell Fluent Validation to instead just throw whenever we hit any validation errors. And again, we want throw on failures here because we shouldn't be able to instantiate this address domain object if the address data passed to the object is invalid. But we have an issue, and that is we can't use our address validator to validate our address domain object. And that's because, as we recall, the address validator is for our view model. So it's for our update address view model, not our address domain object. But that's no big deal. We can leverage an interface so that our validator will work for the update address view model and our address domain object. So let's take our update address view model, and we're going to extract this to an interface. And this interface will simply be an I address. And the only fields we want to extract are the ones that are actually related to an address. So we'll take address line 1, address line 2, city, state, and zip. So let's extract that, and our update address view model now implements the I address interface. Let's check that out. And this interface defines all of our address properties, which don't need to be settable. They can just be read-only. So let's change all of these to only be getters. And now our address domain object can also implement this interface. So the address domain object is also an I address. And of course, it already implements those properties. So now our address validator, instead of being a validator for our view model, it's going to be a validator for an I address. And this doesn't break the address validator, of course, because it was only looking for those address properties in the first place. But now the address validator works for the update address view model because it implements the I address interface. And it also works for the address domain object because it implements the I address interface. So by leveraging an interface, we're able to share and reuse our validation logic between our view model and our domain object. But most importantly, we've enforced that our address domain object can only be instantiated with valid data. So this means wherever we pass the address domain object around our application, we're going to know it's already valid, and we won't have to perform any more validation on it. So for example, if we skip over the UI form validation when we submit the form, and then try to instantiate the address with invalid data, we're going to see that instantiation will fail, which throws an exception so that we don't update our address with invalid data. And throughout the rest of our application, such as in this update address method on our user repository, when we receive this address parameter, we don't need to perform any more validation on the address. We already know it's valid because the domain object is enforcing that validation for us. So overall, validate data early in your application, such as on the UI layer of a front-end application, and then leverage a domain object to ensure and enforce valid data as data flows throughout the rest of the application. And as a result, you'll have valid data, you won't have to over-execute validation logic, and you won't be excessively spreading the responsibility of validation throughout the entire application. So thanks for watching, and hopefully you can apply some of these concepts in your own cool projects.